$50,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-9861. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
Or call 800-575-9861. That's 800-575-9861.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Outspoken with Bruce and Gaydos. Talk to the governor now.
That's right. Governor Hobbs joining us live in studio. Thank you. Gracious with your time. Want to start things off, and let me tell a little bit of a background on this. There is a bill working its way through the legislature right now that would, and I'm trying to be neutral on this, redirect or refund taxes paid by the Diamondbacks and the surrounding businesses back to the Diamondbacks that they could then use to repair the stadium. It has people for, people against it, and now we're getting you on it.
All right, so Governor Lori Roberts, Arizona Republic, writes this. Where the heck is Governor Katie Hobbs? If this bill is so all fired up important to the state's economy and reputation, why isn't she taking a lead role in negotiating a deal? Are you taking a lead role in negotiating the deal?
We absolutely are. We got involved. We've been talking with the city, with the county, with the Diamondbacks. I think everyone wants to do what we can to keep the Diamondbacks here in Arizona, keep Major League Baseball in Arizona, and I think we're very close to an agreement.
Why do you think that she thinks you're not even included in this deal somewhat?
You know, gotta love Lori. I think sometimes she sits at a desk and writes a column and doesn't talk to people, but we've been engaged on this issue.
You've talked to Maricopa County.
Yes.
You've talked to Mayor Gallego.
Yes.
Well, I was gonna bring that up. I know Mayor Gallego wrote a long letter to you expressing some of her concerns.
Yes.
Is a nice way to put it about the bill. It appeared they addressed some of them with amendments, but I'm sure you heard as of last night we learned that the bill had been pulled.
Yes.
At the Diamondbacks' request.
It is still a work in progress. And I think their preference, I believe, is to get it amended in committee before it gets to the floor. And there are still avenues to do that.
Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs is joining us. People out there who say, I don't want to pay any money to build that stadium. How is this good for taxpayers? What do you say to them?
Look, a big concern and thing that we want to make sure happens in this bill is that it doesn't harm the taxpayers. And so that's one of the things being worked out in the details.
How could it, I'm going to say this, how could it not? If, and I think whether it's $500 million or $1 billion in tax revenue goes back to the team, well, that comes at the expense of city, county, state. Like, where does it? Who makes up the difference? I guess is the question a lot of folks have.
Look, if the Diamondbacks aren't at Chase Field, there's nobody paying taxes, right? And so I think part of the details that are being worked out is the cap on those dollars that go back into the stadium operation. So I think that that's one of the details being worked out.
Governor Hobbs is in studio. What would you like to change about this bill? Is there one thing you'd like to say, hey, I don't like that one?
No, I really just want to get good policy that we can get the most agreement on and make sure we're keeping Major League Baseball in Arizona.
What was your conversation with Mayor Gallego like?
You know, as with all I'm not going to give away all of what we're talking about negotiations because people negotiate in good faith. But you know, everyone is bringing legitimate concerns, and we all, I think, want to work together to get as many of those concerns worked out as we can.
You'll sign this if it goes to your desk?
At this point, yes.
All right. In favor of it. Sounds like a deal.
Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs is joining us every couple of weeks here on Outspoken with Bruce and Gaydos. Okay, let's move to the border. Nobody's coming over anymore. It's really interesting. I mean, I was looking at, there was something about Honduran authorities reported a 90% drop in the number of undocumented immigrants passing through their country from January to March compared with the same time last year. Do you feel like you owe Trump a thank you call?
Well, I will say that this trend began back with the executive order that was issued by the Biden administration after the bipartisan bill failed in Congress. And so this has been a trend that's been happening since then. I will say that that president took action too little, too late.
Biden?
Yes.
Yeah.
But now I think we're continuing to see that trend. And then I think coupled with just the action that the current president is taking is certainly stemmed the flow. We're seeing increasing decreases. And I think at the end of the day, that's good news because what it means for border security is that our federal agents who work really hard at the border every day have now the ability to focus on the criminal elements and stopping the fentanyl and the traffickers from coming into the country.
See, Bruce and I talk about this all the time. You know, what people say is we need Congress to act. They've got to have a comprehensive immigration plan.
Yeah.
We don't need one. Nobody's coming in now.
Well, I think we do because I think that this is something that's been kicked down the road for decades.
Yeah.
And we're going to continue to see like these if our immigration policy can change at the drop of a hat, there's not consistency, there's not certainty, and having comprehensive change would provide that certainty. We've needed it for a long time.
Yeah, Congress has abdicated its role, to say the least. By the way, happy Tariff Week for those that celebrate. Tomorrow,
every week is Tariff Week.
Isn't it, though? Tomorrow is Liberation Day. I call it liberation from low prices. 25% tariff on goods from Mexico and Canada, 25% on imported passenger vehicles, light trucks, auto parts, etc. Other tariffs on other countries. It's still kind of in the air, remains to be seen what could change and what not. Talk to me about the impact that you're hearing, especially from business leaders, that this is going to have on Arizonans.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, these tariffs are nothing more than a tax increase, and that tax increase will be passed on to consumers. When you're talking about tariffs on vehicles, even cars that are made in America, there are many parts and pieces that they rely on from manufacturers out of the country. And there is no way for a manufacturer to just pick up and move on a dime like that. So there needs to be some strategy around these tariffs that actually help grow the economy, that actually make sure that goods are produced in America in a way that is beneficial to consumers and creates jobs. But this, like random, maybe we'll do a tariff, maybe we'll threaten with a tariff, but without actually considering the cost is just detrimental. And businesses are concerned about the uncertainty of the climate. I talked about this last time I was here. It's just chaos, and that is not good for the economy at all.
Okay, so it'll be chaos tomorrow, but we might actually have, like, it might come to fruition after all of the back and forth. Okay, so
can I follow up with that?
Sure.
You were just in Taiwan.
Yeah.
And you met with, TSMC was one of the people you met with, which are obviously growing huge here. What is their concern? I mean, these are foreign companies that are trying to do business in the United States, but I mean, I'm assuming on some level, they're obviously concerned about the economic climate.
Yeah, well, I think for them, being able to manufacture in the United States eliminates that tariff of shipping those chips over here. But a lot of the parts that go into building the fabs, there's one fab that's constructed right now, and they've announced 6. And so the building materials, taxes on those make that more expensive. It might make it take longer. So there's a lot of concern. And I think, everyone's trying to operate within this environment and figure out what does the president want? What's the end goal here? But we are manufacturing in America, and these tariffs are still hurting us.
Okay. Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs in studio every couple of weeks with us, exclusive interview on Outspoken. So Arizona, number one trade partner, Mexico.
Yes. Yeah.
We see all the tariffs and all that stuff. Give me an example of how the everyday Arizonan is going is going to be hurt by a tariff like this with Mexico? How does it hurt Arizona? How does it hurt ordinary folks like us?
So going back to cars,
Okay.
many cars are built cross-border. So the cars might be built here. I mentioned parts coming from other places like Mexico. Maybe that part crosses the border 3 times because the manufacturing
levels of
process works
assembly
that
or-
way.
yeah.
Yes, yeah. Then that's a 25% tariff. That now you're at 75%. So that's so just a few weeks ago, I think before the last time I was here, I was in Nogales. I talked with farmers. I talked with produce distributors. I talked with small business owners, and the produce is another issue or another area where it's going to hit consumers almost immediately every time they're at the grocery store. And again, we're talking about a president who ran on lowering costs for Americans, and we're doing the opposite of that right now.
Along the lines in the economy, and you're talking about people's pocketbooks, and when we say economy, we realize everybody. Economy is like your personal economy.
Yes, yeah.
Economy is your wallet, your pocketbook, your bank account. One of the concerns here is affordable housing.
Yeah.
And the challenge, if you will. And I'm curious as to where you come down. There was a bill you vetoed last year. This was the AZ Starter Homes Act that, at least the bill says, it had bipartisan support, would allow for smaller, I'll use the term cheaper, homes to be built so that people could afford to get in. The average price of a house is through the roof. It's working its way through again. Where are you on it now?
So we've been actively involved in negotiating a compromise on this bill, wanting to make sure that, like, my line in the sand here is that there's some assurances that Arizonans will be able to benefit from these new lower priced homes. So we want to see some ownership minimums in there, as well as just being able to ensure that there's affordability. And those were things that were missing in the previous iteration of the bill.
So your concern is that they would build these homes and they would go to investors, or they would they wouldn't actually go. Okay, interesting. There's another one, though. I'll throw this out there. I'm going to say our friends in Buckeye and Queen Creek, where you have a moratorium on some building out there, and that gets to the water issue, right?
Yep, and that is exactly why we got the alternative designation of assured water supply program through rules, so that communities like Buckeye and Queen Creek can acquire these alternate water sources and have what they need to continue building homes. These are some of the fastest growing areas of the state.
Correct.
The more we can build there, the more affordable housing is going to be. And we need to make that happen. That's why this rulemaking was really critical.
Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs, we got a couple more minutes with you in studio. Talk to the governor. Can you sign an executive order to end the sun season early?
Oh.
Is there any way that we could work?
Put us out of our misery?
Have you ever thought of doing that? Because I think in your reelection campaign, that could pick up some votes.
I mean, we're in April, so it's probably almost over.
It's almost, but I'm just wondering, can you move it a little bit?
Though.
You move it a little bit further?
Well, let's have hope right now, because the Diamondback season just started.
Okay.
How about this one? Dismantling the United States Department of Education.
Yeah.
If that happens, talk to parents out there, because they're like, okay, how does this affect my child?
Look, I think that every parent in Arizona has kids in school, and they don't know where the funding comes from, what their kid gets at school that's paid for by the state or by the Department of Education, or where it comes from. So the mechanics aren't what's important. It's making sure that those dollars, which I will remind everyone are your tax dollars that you sent to Washington, they need to come back here to Arizona, and they need to fund the things that they're funding, whether that's special education programs for your children, whether it's free and reduced lunch so your kids are fed while they're at school, whatever that is, those dollars need to come back to our state and provide the education that every Arizona child deserves. And so whatever the feds do with the Department of Education, to me, is not as important as making sure that those programs are able to continue, so our kids can continue to learn and get the quality education they deserve.
Along those same lines, with all the cuts and uncertainty in Washington, D.C., the impact on Medicaid, the impact on health care for people here in Arizona. I know that Attorney General Mays is part of a group of states that are suing right now the federal government. Explain to me as simply as you can so I can understand it. How's this affecting people?
Yeah, so Medicaid hasn't been cut yet, but I will tell you it's a concern. And we just released an economic report today that looks at the broad impact that those cuts would have, not just on hundreds of thousands of Arizonans that today rely on Medicaid to get their health care, but just the broader economic impacts it would have. But the lawsuit, the most recent lawsuit there's other health and human service cuts, and those are broad, and they're not necessarily focused on the DEI stuff or efficiency, as they want to say. These are programs that affect people's lives. Just one example of the many programs that are being harmed right now is a nonprofit that has provided medical detox for over 1,000 newborns that are born addicted to opioids. And they get this detox and they're able to go and live healthy lives. That is just one example. And thousands of infants, that's a big need in our communities. And these are programs that are providing life-saving care, and their funds are just cut with no explanation except COVID's over. Well, we know that, but also that's not the right reason. You can't just go cut these funds.
Governor Hobbs, Karen Taylor Robeson is going to be running against you. She's one of your opponents. It was a week or so ago. She was over at Mar-a-Lago. Is she a Republican or is she MAGA?
You know what? I really have no commentary. She can define herself. The voters can decide for themselves.
What do you think she is, though? Is she a Trump, like a Trump follower now, or is she still kind of a Republican?
She's a billionaire corporate developer and longtime lobbyist who spent $20 million of her own money to lose to Carrie Lake.
Other than that.
Well, there you have it. Are you worried about Andy Biggs running against you?
I'm not worried. I will put my record of delivering results for Arizonans up against either one of theirs any day.
All right. Think about the Suns thing, okay?
Yeah.
We're going to circle back around. Governor Hobbs, appreciate your time today. Thank you very much. That's Governor Katie Hobbs joining us for her exclusive interview that she does every other week with us right here on KTAR. We get a chance to react to some of the things the governor said. It's coming up next on KTAR.
All right.
John Roller live from the Valley Chevy Dealers Traffic Center. Scottsdale fire still mopping up after that garbage truck fire. They have been able to open up the left lanes now. This is at northbound Loop 101, the Pima Freeway, right near McKellips. Again, your right lanes are blocked, but we have heavy slowing right from the 202 transition heading northbound on the Loop 101 Pima Freeway. Just lean to the left and give yourself some extra minutes. Have a crash 67th Avenue in Van Buren. Also another crash at Bell Road and Reams Road in Surprise this evening, and a crash in Chandler, Ray Road, and McQueen. John Roller, KTAR News.
Hey, the Arizona Painting Company, I want you to hire my friends there over the weekend. They did something that they do all the time. It's called Paint It Forward.